All right, everyone, welcome. I don't know why I wanted to start today with saying it's your favorite Three Stooges, but
just as long as I'm Larry. Just as long as I'm Larry.
but here we are. There's some fire in the room today. I don't think anybody's been pre-drinking before the party, but our subject is governance, environmental, social, otherwise. But the idea here is that compliance is more than a checkbox. Although it can be a competitive advantage, you must really think your way through this stuff. I know there's a lot of companies that are getting on the wagon of saying, we do something, or we believe in something, or, let's install pronouns into our CRM and tagging system. But there's more at work here. And I think that's the thing that we're here to discuss and, bring up our concerns, criticisms, ideas. You do have to have values, but they need to be aligned with action. They need to be aligned with principles. It's good to have principles, but just because this is where the tide is going right now doesn't mean you should change everything. And I feel like I'm throwing stuff towards the fire. Who wants to light it?
What if it's a lie, Jacob?
Which part?
What if I'm at the office one night after everyone else has gone home and the cleaning crew shows up, and I see them walk over to the recycle bin and dump it into the regular garbage?
Good start.
All just a facade, complete lie, manipulation, right? So why not really live your values like you said, right? If you're going to put it out there, follow through on it, really recycle. If you're going to say you're recycling, don't just dump it in the trash. Don't lie to your entire workforce, because when we see it and figure it out, it erodes all the trust in the organization. If you're lying to me about recycling, what else are you lying to me about?
I want to snatch that for a minute and wrestle with the customer facing side of it, because there's a certain coffee retailer that's done a great job of creating all of their bins with 3 different holes.
Right.
Because it's like, we were told by the world that this is important. And I'll tell you, every time I walk over there and I'm like, I know this goes in here, it looks like all the users do not care.
True.
Yes. Well, and see, this is one of those things where it's like, at least they're trying to. This is where it gets so hard, right?
Yes.
Because it's like people say they want something, and this is where we talk about Steve Jobs, and he says, never, ever, ever listen to what people say they want. Right? Because people don't know what they want. So people say, yes, I want to recycle. But what they mean is, I need some way to assuage my moral guilt about killing the planet.
That's right.
That's what they're saying, right? I mean, I grew up in the 90s. I know about Captain Planet. Only you can save the earth, right? Like, I get it. But, I think that there is sort of this boundary line when we get to ESG, in my opinion, because what I have observed, and I'd love your takes on this as well. What I have observed is that it is this top-down approach that is coming not from the customers, but rather institutions that are forcing, let's call it a new moral system onto these businesses, when they really don't care either way, and their customers are paying the price for it. In the United States, go ahead.
But not enough of a price, because the coffee cup cost should go up 4 cents per, so that they can pay an employee to stand by the garbage recycling bin and take the things out of people's hands and put it in the right hole. Please continue.
Well, and this is what I'm saying, right? Is like the company obviously doesn't care, but in the United States, they were actually trying to tie ESG scores to your ability to get a loan from a bank. And so it was like, at that point, to me, it's not really what you believe. So if you actually, like Ben and Jerry's, man, I applaud those guys left, right, and center because they do what they believe, man. Like those guys are actually trying to do what they believe. And I really applaud that. And that's the kind of ESG that I am in favor of. If a business wants to actually live their values, not only is it a good thing, I think it's actually vital because it's a signal to their customers so that their customers can find them better.
Yeah. And that's, I think, one of those things where it's like, put your money where your mouth is, right? Because again, like we've got this cultural shift. Now the environment's important, right? I was talking to a client about this earlier today because before it was the people on the outside talking about how they want things to change. Well, guess what? Things have changed. The people who write, this is how it is now, listened. And then you get insanity. His company makes paper out of limestone, which wasn't relevant until very recently because they're rolling out consumer packaged goods laws state by state.
Ugh.
And we're dealing with the insanity where, like I don't know, you like some sort of nutrition bar, they're going to have to produce 36 different versions of the packaging, depending on which state it's in, which is going to drive the costs up because it's all about how hard it is to recycle because they listened to the public who said, this is really important to us. We want to get rid of waste. And I was mentioning to him this morning, like, this is your golden time because what he produces doesn't need to be recycled. It gets dropped in the ground and it just degrades to limestone. Right? But all of a sudden, the slight differential in cost has become extremely relevant because taking that product back through the recycling process, I don't know how much it costs a lot.
Well, I agree with that. At the same time, I don't know that we're going to see that impact individualized, like outside of an individualized market, right? So I live in Utah, and we have weird liquor laws here, guys, like weird. Okay. And I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I don't drink, right? Like my family has a history of alcoholism, which is another reason why I don't drink. But I think these laws are a little on the crazy side. Like they have to produce special beer for Utah because Utah has an alcohol content limit. Other states don't. And it's below the typical threshold. And so like they pass those costs along to Utahns. They don't pass them along to Nevadans or Arizonans or Californians or Idahoans, right? It's just Utah. And I think that's what this could potentially do. Look, if someone from California really cares about recycling, great, let them pay for it, right? I really don't have a problem with that. But the thing that I have a problem with is something that people have started calling rainbow washing and greenwashing, where they will wear the facade of supporting LGBTQ ideals. They'll wear the facade of being green, to your point, Jacob. But when it comes time for the rubber to meet the road, it's very clear that they don't have a moral compass. Right. And I just want to know who I'm doing business with. If I'm doing business with a company that's okay with using slave labor in China to make a stuffed animal, then I don't want to give them my money, but I want to know who they are.
Yeah. And this brings up something else. I was working across the table from an HR person a while back, and she brought something very poignant to the table, because she falls in this, let's call it outsider, minority, like lifestyle choice underneath that rainbow.
Mm-hmm.
But because the company that she worked in adopted this pronoun strategy, everybody's going to do this now. Her point was, I've now been forced to out myself at work long before I was ever comfortable doing so.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Right? In a place that I had no interest in doing it. And, everybody gets to make their own choices in their life on a journey like that. But imagine your work environment forcing you to have a conversation that you haven't had with your family.
Right.
Right. And that's really destructive.
Very.
And like, I just look at this, and when it is an individual who wants to do that, great. Let them do that. Let them choose. But when it's an organization or some kind of an institution trying to enforce certain beliefs, look, I'd have a problem with it if it was my church trying to do it, because I believe that we have the right of conscience, that we all have a right to choose for ourselves. And that includes our customers, and it includes our employees. And we should be very clear about what our beliefs are and those stands, right? And if someone doesn't want to do business with us, that's the consequence, right? Or if someone doesn't want to be an employee of ours, then that's the consequence. But it creates, in my opinion, and Rob, I'd actually like your take on this. In my opinion, it creates better work environments and better company culture. However, it does run the risk of groupthink. So I'm curious about your take.
There's like so much opportunity here. The individual responsibility was a thing, and there's a boundary to that. So agree, right? Like, to each own is in his or her own time, right? In their own time. As soon as we start creating policy governing things that aren't really part of the work world, in my opinion, right? You're actually not supposed to be fornicating with the people you work with at most companies. That's frowned upon. Well, if that's our major stance on what happens in the break room, then how important is it then that we out ourselves in our email signatures, right? So it might just be policy gone too far. Yeah.
And how does that impact the culture? How does that impact the brand that you're presenting to your customers? Because I read a quote from, I think it was Jeff Bezos, who was saying, your company's brand is what people say about you when you're not there. And so, I'd be interested to hear about this, because it feels like ESG was people trying to enforce this sort of omni brand in terms of cultural values onto companies in the entire Western world. It wasn't just the United States. It wasn't just Canada. It was also, it's going on in the EU and Great Britain and Ireland and all of these different countries. So I'm curious about your take, and Jacob, feel free to jump in as well. I'm curious about your take on this, because it strikes me that it would be a very negative and bleed into a toxic culture. And it's people who have noble intent, but it's that nobility run amok.
Well, it's intent without critical thinking, right? It's intent without diligence and discernment, right? It's I have a hunch, and my amygdala says this feels good, so fire the proton torpedoes, as it is, right? Like what? So I would, my gripe is with the lack of critical thinking in that regard. So yes, it causes tension in the culture. It causes a certain amount of hostility in the culture. It forces trust in a way that it just doesn't work that way anywhere else, right? Like outside work, you have full control over whether or not you out yourself. So it's part of your, like, think of it more morally. Should your employer be able to compel you to declare your pronouns at work, either through policy or through other social constructs? I think it's a bad, terrible cultural play, in my opinion. I agree. People will disagree with me. Okay, disagree with me. But it's really, in my opinion, the most inclusive place to be is to give people a right to their own privacy. Right? Tell me where I'm wrong.
And I've got a weird tangent for this, but the impact rolls out in different ways, right? Like, I had a interesting experience recently. I was introduced to somebody. It was like a referral-based thing of like, you should meet so-and-so. Like, cool, thank you for that. Used their booking link once, it failed. Using their booking link twice, it failed, right? Got a very angry email. I was waiting for you to show up to the meeting. I was like, but the meeting never arrived. Right? And so again, like in a situation like that, for me, I guess I've spent enough time around technology. I know it's technology's fault. It's not a human error. Nobody did anything wrong.
Right.
But my way to respond was to throw myself in the sword of like, you're right, I must have totally screwed this up. Because obviously, like, the thing works just fine and it's me. And then that just fed the fire. The next email was even more incendiary. And this is somebody who I've never met. And I love this Ken Wilber quote, you know, of him doing a spoken interview. And the question that began was like, why are you doing a spoken interview for the first time and why is it taking so long? And he's like, well, a lot of people are very angry at me and I want them to be mad for the right reasons. Because they read my books and think this about me, but by the time they hear me talk, they'll be annoyed at the proper thing.
Right.
And it's just that thing that I find myself in this place where it's mysterious sometimes how we can get so invested in something that we've never experienced. Right. And that's where that compliance checkbox becomes a real danger, in my opinion.
I like that. I like that because compliance for the sake of compliance. Well, I'm just going to say it. It becomes a situation where HR is running your business, and HR doesn't understand marketing. HR doesn't understand operations. HR doesn't. Frankly, sometimes I wonder if HR even understands HR. And so it turning complete control of your business over to these people who have very limited understanding, and that's harsh, but they have very specialized understanding of compliance and the law. It's like letting lawyers run your business, and like putting lawyers in charge of your marketing is a terrible idea. You know, to be successful, you have to take risks, and you have to be willing to offend some people. I remember I had a mentor who he was a leader in the community, and he went and did a mission trip abroad for 3 years, and he came home and he was giving a speech. And he said to everybody in attendance, listen, I want you to know, you know, how did he say it? He said something to the effect of, I know I've offended most of you. I want the rest of you to know I'm perfectly capable of offending all of you. And it was just like, yeah, I don't care. Like, and I think that's how sometimes we have to be in order to be successful. Like, we cannot be afraid to be ourselves, because
Right.
customers do business with people, do business with people.
Know, like, and trust, right?
And sometimes you can earn that trust with a little bit of dislike or disagreement. I guess there's a COO I've been doing some back and forth with, and she's brought us a client. And that was the conversation we had. We had this follow-up conversation. She's like, we don't always agree, but I trust the fact that you're going to do the right thing for them. Right. And that's our job. We're both there to grow that company together as part of the effort of supporting this person in their pursuits. But how we do it, well, we each have our specialty.
I really, really like that. And it makes me wonder about politics. Because we're going to cross the streams here a little bit. We already have. But to me, it's like we have this weird sort of belief. It seems like, and maybe I'm just off base on this, but we have this weird sort of belief that we cannot discuss politics in the workplace. It's like politics and religion are the two things that you can't discuss. And it's sort of created an environment, I think, where groupthink becomes even more likely because, we have situations where Democrats are afraid if they share what they believe, they'll get outed and then fired. And the same thing with Republicans. But we have to learn to work together and live together. And just because I see this political issue differently from you, you need to know that I'm still a good person and that I still have the best interests of the team at heart. And I think that goes along with what you were saying, Jacob, about being able to earn trust through disagreement, right? Like Ben and Jerry's, the average Republican is not going to believe in anything that company espouses, but damn, their ice cream's good. And I can at least trust that they are doing what they say they're doing with their ice cream because they're doing what they say they're doing politically.
On the other end, you have Chick-fil-A, right?
Wingo.
They walk their talk. Okay, boycott. So what? Best chicken, period. Right?
Chicken too tasty.
Right.
And it hasn't hurt either one of those companies. Go ahead, Rob. I spoke over you.
No, agreed. Do what you say you're going to do. Be honest, be authentic, be yourself, absent hate for other. Right? It's okay to be whatever. Skip the hate. Right? Like,
and there's some of that trust that your brand gets because you do what you say you're committed to. Right. And, we both of these examples are products that for all intents and purposes are sold in things that are disposable. Right. I haven't seen either of them move into the glass container refund program.
Can you imagine getting a chicken sandwich in a glass container?
No. And I don't want to have to figure out how to implement it either.
Right? It's like buying soft drinks in the 80s, right? In those 16.
Oh, what a nightmare.
You'd have to take all your containers back to the store to be washed. Oh.
It's like that Seinfeld episode where Kramer's trying to figure out how to get the bottles to Michigan to get the extra 5 cents. But I think, people need to know what you believe. And this is something that I've been learning a lot lately, is people can sense if you're not like being completely open with them. And because you're not being open, they don't know why. In your mind, it's perfectly reasonable. Well, I'm not sharing this particular stance politically because it seems inappropriate in a professional environment. Well, okay, but who are you, right? Like the customer doesn't know that. The colleague doesn't know that. All they know is, there's something going on. I don't know what's going on, and that makes me uncomfortable.
And that erodes trust, which is kind of one of my points, because if you say you stand for something just because that's what you're supposed to stand for this week, then you're only serving your potential customers, right? Not your actual customers, the people that are already funding your business and keeping it alive and making it exist, because they bought what you did and why you did it already. And so those may be the people that you want to lean into and talk to and say, what are we really about? What do we mean to you? Why are you with us? Instead of just, picking up a brand new flag because that's what's on top of the rack this week.
So I'm going to ask, is it that we're allowing our customers to formulate our personal values and our values as a company, or are our customers attracted to us because of the values that we stand for and those stances that we take? I don't agree with Simon Sinek much. Well, I will say this. I don't agree with Simon Sinek much, but I do think that in this instance, he's probably right. But Jacob, I'd like your take. I talked over you.
No, it's not that. I just was chiming in. I think it's a partnership. Right? I was talking to somebody yesterday who's onboarding, and this is somebody who has knowledge and experience. And she said, she dropped this word. She's like, I just need someone to guide me. And I was like, wait a minute. Like, you're really well versed in this. You do not need to be guided. You just need to be given some tools and some leverage. Like, you're a partner in this process and in this project. Right? Like, we have an ascension model. I know where the people who need to be guided end up. We filter them down to there for that reason of like, hey, don't buy this, learn this first. Right? But people who have acumen and just need a better tool, right? This isn't driving lessons. This is just a performance automobile.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really big piece of it, knowing your customer, knowing yourself, knowing your values. And that's why I always try to think of it as partnership. But again, just to reiterate something we've said pretty much every single time we've gathered, not enough people are talking to their actual customers. They keep on changing their messaging based on the hopeful ones that they think they're trying to attract, instead of focusing on how to keep the ones they already have.
I really like that you brought up that distinction, because I think that is actually very true. I would be very curious to see the number of people who are now trying to use ChatGPT to do their market research instead of doing it themselves. Because it seems easier. Like, it really is scary going out and talking to customers. Like, I get it. I do it all the time. It's really scary having those conversations and like exposing yourself to them saying, yeah, I just didn't like when you did this. It sucked. That kind of pissed me off. Like, that's really scary, especially when you don't have control over that choice, right? Like, geez, when McDonald's raised the price of the Big Mac, right? Like that pissed a lot of people off, I'm sure. And so it's like, I don't have control over this. Like, don't shoot the messenger. I'm just trying to understand your perception of our company now and like why you're coming to McDonald's. New Coke, when they rolled out new Coke, right? I can't control whether or not Coke's going to change the flavor back. Like, I don't have any choice in that matter. All I can do is understand, like, how do you perceive this new Coke flavor impacting your life?
But what they do control is what they cook the French fries in. And here we are back at transparency and being true to your customer, right?
Beef tallow, baby.
I'm just saying that doesn't work for everybody. That was a thing. So also, who's making the ketchup there? Right? That all changed, right? I haven't seen that in the news. They're not marketing that, right? It's no longer Heinz, right? I don't know. How transparent are we living? How are we living our values? How are we, right? Like, I, who makes chemicals and gives cities full of people cancer and kills all the wildlife, right? Like corporate America, right? So governance, policy, do we need the EPA and the FDA to protect us from greed? If we believe Gordon Gekko, right? Like, yeah, there's probably some balancing force needed in the universe. But let's be fair, authentic, and transparent as possible, and like be real with each other and respect each other when we do. Yeah.
I like that. Respect. I like that.
Absolutely. I think that's a brilliant piece.
So, I'm curious, how do we move forward from here, right? Like, how do businesses learn from this? Like, what are the changes that they need to make in terms of positioning and everything else? Because, the way that I perceived people using ESG was really just marketing positioning, right? Like, they didn't actually believe it. It was just lip service, and I was doing this so that I could do the rainbow logo in Pride Month, and do the green logo during the Environmental Awareness Month, and like, so that people know that I'm a virtuous company, right? So like, how do we move forward from this?
Yeah, I think one of the most important things is to have clarity and definition about the culture. And then again, it's something that you want to invite people into, and I'd lean on Rob for this, but I imagine you start with that inside the organization itself first, right? And like, have that, because you need to live it first before you broadcast it. Otherwise, it's disingenuous.
It's got to be aligned with mission, right? It's got to be aligned with vision, right? How do we define ourselves such that we are positioned internally to accomplish, right? Fulfill, right? It's all got to be aligned. You can't have like a high hedonistic culture working on like scientific research. That's a recipe for disaster, right? That doesn't go together.
It
Right?
sounds like a lot of movie plots.
It's the chemists show up with beakers, right? It happens. I get it, but that's the exception. High hedonistic cultures, like every random Tuesday, you're out getting hammered, right? That's a different thing than the exception. So, yeah, define your culture in accordance with, and then regulate accordingly, right? Live that to support your achievement of vision and your mission. And if compliance is a part of that, right? If you're going to stand out and say environmental sustainability is the thing because that serves our purpose, then that's genuine. Then do that, right? Make that part of your culture, your values, your virtues. But I don't think every company needs to have all the same values. They're not all relevant.
Yeah. I really agree with that. And I would just add that I think it starts with the individuals at the top, including and primarily the CEO, right? Because what the CEO presents to the company, and both verbally and non-verbally, in the sense that what they will and won't tolerate
Right.
in terms of behavior, becomes the culture.
That's right. Culture is what you tolerate. That's right.
Yeah. And if a CEO says, no, we don't tolerate people who don't recycle in this company, and they themselves are recycling, they themselves are going into employees' offices, and when they see, oh, hey, this goes in the recycling bin, and they take it themselves and put it in the recycling bin, guess what? You're going to have a culture that recycles within a couple of months, because people want to get noticed by people at the top. But Oh, go
We
ahead.
want to see them fire the custodial company that's dumping the recycling in the garbage and hire the one that doesn't.
Right. Right. And we want to see, we want to see them actually, if you're a company that says, hey, we care about our workers' livelihoods, then I want to see you pay your workers a living wage as a customer, right? Like, yeah, that means maybe I have to tolerate, like it means maybe I have to tolerate paying a little bit more for a cheeseburger. But if I know that you have a staff back there, they're getting paid, a living wage in the area in which they live, and that you as a restaurant are still able to operate profitably, if that's what I care about, then yeah, I'm willing to make that sacrifice as a customer, right? But like, I need to see it. I need to believe it. And whitewashing, greenwashing, rainbow washing, people are onto this now. And so companies actually have to take the risk, in my opinion, and CEOs, especially leaders, have to take the risk of being who they are authentically and showing the world, this is who we are authentically. And if you don't like us, that's fine. Go find a different business that you do like.
And that's where I would, love to chime in with. That may mean no water bottle, right? Instead of like the reusable water bottle with the brand name on it, just none. Because then it shows you're really standing behind something. And, I would take it a step further at the trade show and go like, this many homeless people got fed because we didn't give out swag this year. Right? Like there's places and ways you can take this that actually have an impact and show what you're actually committed to.
Yes.
In lieu of swag, we fed 100 families at the local soup kitchen, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In lieu of swag, we paid for 100 families, parents in 100 families, to get new job training and help them find work.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's almost a step away from, let's call it generic compliance, right? Which is like any way the wind blows branding. And into, again, we stand for something, and that's where I'd maybe default back to the culture. Like, talk to your employees. Like, what are the problems you see on the way to work that you walk past that you are concerned about in your neighborhoods?
I like this, and I'm curious to get your take, because one of the things that's landing with me is that, maybe the future is fewer of these mega corporations, right? Fewer of these massive companies, but more authentic companies.
Well, there's that general trend towards smaller business, right? As the generations turn in corporate America, you're finding far less of a commitment to getting a corporate job, and the alternative is entrepreneurship. So yeah, new business creation, applications, products, services, that's on the upswing, and recruiting from inside is getting tougher and tougher and tougher every day. So I was my post like 3 weeks back, right? The problem in corporate America, by and large, isn't product, it's culture. Right? And compliance is part of that culture.
Anything else that you guys want people to, take home or think about or put to work?
So for me, I've been thinking a lot about this lately. just in the context of my own personal life, but I think it applies to brands as well, because brands are almost, at least in US law, companies are treated as individuals. And so it's like I mentioned earlier, people can sense when you are not being like completely truthful with them. Now, the interesting thing is that they can't tell when you're being fully authentic, but they can tell when you're holding things back. And I think that the lesson we need to learn is to let your company, that culture, be like, just be genuine about it. Like, don't hold anything back. Don't be blasé milquetoast cultures, right? Don't be the same as everyone else. Don't let HR run the ship. Like, you as the CEO have to be in control, and that means letting your personality shine.
I think that is a brilliant way of saying it. And a lot of cultures are founder led. And I think the trick is to maintain those values as you grow.
Oh, it's hard. Oh, it's hard. Oh, Dave Thomas at Wendy's. It's hard. It's hard. John Palmer, Cole Palmer.
Well, even just look at Microsoft with Bill Gates, right? Like, this is something that I would add as well, I guess, is like, as you grow, cultures change, but you have to make sure that the values that you have don't change. Because that's one of the things that I've kind of observed in the software world, is that a lot of these companies, frankly, they're started by nerds. And once the nerds get a little bit of money and a little bit of success, the cool kids start noticing them, and then the values change.
Right. That's right.
Fantastic. Anything else?
Let's.
Last thoughts.
What did we cover? Honesty, transparency, respect, authenticity.
Compliance with internal culture, having values that you comply with versus the whim of the world around you.
Not everything is a work thing. Some things are personal things.
Absolutely. I guess the paradox of choice, right? Like the trick is you have choices to make, but then you're going to need to make them.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. And maybe focus on your values, make it a values decision, not a brand decision. Because a lot of that compliance for brand's sake is, and again, just my opinion, quite hopeful. We might get new people interested in us if we say we're about this, instead of the people who work here and the people who keep the roof over our heads say this.
And when that gets sniffed out, when that inauthenticity gets sniffed out, oh, the cost is high.
Yeah, it's hard to get back.
Yeah, because people don't want to be the one who fell for it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Perfect. Well, thank you for your time, gents. For those of you who caught this episode as well, thank you so much for being here. And we'll see you next week.
We will? Isn't next week Thanksgiving in the US?
Oh,
I'm not going to be here.
I guess, yeah, we'll have to push that one back.
We'll see you in 2 weeks.
All right. Be well.